Welcome to Let's Talk About It. A podcast gives a platform for real talk, real people, real topics, real conversations. Please subscribe, like, comment, enjoy this journey, and enjoy this ride. Welcome to this week's episode. Welcome everybody to Let's Talk About It. A podcast is a platform for real talk, real people, real topics, real conversations. Before I bring on my exciting guests, trust me, I've already talked already. It's very, very exciting. I'd like to thank my now 10,000 new subscribers I have. I'm very thankful, blessed. Thank you so much. Keep on liking, subscribing. If someone's watching this new for the first time, thank you for your support. Keep on liking, keep on subscribing. Comments too. Seriously. Give a comment with whatever you see today, even any other old podcast, give a comment. People will love your feedback. Today, I have a young lady on that I saw on TikTok. She has a book out that came out, and I think it was published April 19th of 2022. Great read. It is called The Only Way Out Is Through. Cindy, I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, Lou.
We talked a little bit before, yesterday, but some things happened.
Yes.
But you have an amazing story about marriage, infidelity, and another topic too that we will definitely get involved with. I was amazed by your story because I first saw you on TikTok. Like you do your mental check-ins and all that, which a lot of people don't really do, mental check-ins. So, right before we get into your story, right? I know you like to do the mental check-ins, right? But how much do people do a mental check-in on you?
Never.
Well, check it
out. It's funny because I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of family and everything, but I think everybody sees me as the strong individual because of everything I've gone through. They don't think that they have to check in on me, which is a misconception because even though people that are strong, we need that too. And I just don't have that kind of support in my life, I do have a wonderful church group that I deal with that I see and stuff, which is helpful to my mental well-being, but no one really checks in. Yeah.
Well, you will have a new one with me because I'm gonna start checking in.
Well, God love you. Thanks.
Cindy, I know you wrote this book, The Only Way Out Is Through, and there's a reason why you wrote this book.
Yes.
So I would like to start off with your journey of how you wrote this book, because I know you've been married 3 times.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, before we start that off, I got a little fun fact about being married 3 times, if you want to hear about it.
Fun fact. Okay.
Well, I don't know, it's fun fact. I know that, marriages and stuff like some people has been married, but the majority of marriages, or the first marriage, lasts 43% of first marriages.
Okay. Second
time married goes up 60%.
Okay.
The last and the third one, 73%.
Well, I'm in none of that.
And the last one, 6%, actually get remarried.
Okay.
But guess who they get remarried to?
Their first husband?
Their second one.
Oh, no.
Imagine that, right?
No, thank you.
So listen, Cindy, right? We already talked a little bit yesterday, right? But I wanted you to deep dive in your journey because it's a very, very interesting story. It's going to help out a lot of women out there. And you know what? It'll help out men as well.
Yes.
So let's start off with the beginning of your story.
Well, like you already said, I've been married 3 times. The first marriage I was young. I had my children with that man. There was nothing, we were just young, Yeah. We didn't kind of grow together. So that ended after 6 years. And then I met my second husband. We were together for 16 years, married for 11. That marriage was probably the biggest mistake I ever made. He was a narcissistic control freak that I lost my entire being in that relationship and that marriage. which basically kind of led me to my third marriage, because after I got out of that marriage, the second marriage, I thought, okay, I've kind of been lonely for years, prior to even getting divorced from the second guy. Um, you know, I'm ready for a relationship um, of a real nature, right?
Yeah.
So I thought I was ready to go out and start dating. So I went on the dating sites like we all tend to do when we're, kind of lonely and not sure where to meet people.
Well, dating sites can be ugly, but
Oh,
before you get to your third marriage, at your second marriage,
yes.
at that time, because the word narcissist,
Yeah.
like that's kind of new. Did you know what that meant
No,
back then at second marriage?
not at all. I didn't learn about that word until probably the tail end of our marriage. I'm like, I mean, it's just his characteristics and his being, and it just wasn't in what I considered normal. There was no lovingness, there was no warmth, there was no, we ended up going to one of our friends' baby passed away at 21 hours old. And my husband at that point, my second husband, no, there was no tears, there was no feeling about that, you know what I mean? And I'm sorry, I don't care who you are, I don't care if you even know this, the baby, or not. If you see a baby, you
Yeah,
know in that condition, where is your, you've got to have some sort of emotion about it,
absolutely,
and he had
absolutely.
zero
All
moment.
right, so let's get to the main event, your third marriage. That's the main event. I guess that's the reason why you wrote this book.
Yeah, it was. Okay, so 3 months after divorce was final with second guy, I, met my third husband
Okay.
online. He was, I'll tell you, he was just so kind and loving, and something I never, like, very warm, everything that I didn't have in my previous relationship.
Yeah,
I mean, when we would go outside, he made sure that he, always had me. He protected me.
yeah,
I struggle with migraines, and I have an anxiety disorder, and he was always very warm and loving about all those things too. Always there for me, trying to help me through those things. So it was just
yeah.
things that I wasn't really ever experienced before, So I'm like, wow, I honestly, Lou, thought I was being rewarded with my third husband because
Okay,
of my second husband. I'm like,
gotcha.
oh, God's given me a break. Hallelujah. You know what I mean? So he kind of, we moved the relationship along quickly. So we met in January and we got married in August of 2015. So yeah, quick turnaround there. Which, of course, sometimes it works out, that fast. For me, it did not. Okay, you get it. You get it.
Yes.
So, I will tell you, the first couple of years of our marriage was, I mean, he was a drinker. He wasn't a heavy drinker at the time, but he was a drinker, but,
Yeah,
nothing too crazy. But our
yeah.
first 2 years of our marriage was, like when we were dating, it was really, it was great. He was loving. I mean, he'd have dinner ready for me when I got home. I mean, just,
Oh.
yeah, right. I mean, just, we would literally come in the house and yelling, baby, baby, where are you? Like, we were so excited to see each other all the time. You know what I mean? Like, it was just that kind
Okay.
of a feeling, So it was just
Good.
great. But then I started noticing some kind of changes in his behavior. He would start drinking on the weekends heavily. We'd
Right.
go out with friends. It was heavy drinking. He would get
Oh.
very verbally abusive to me. And I'm just like, what is happening here? I didn't understand what was going on. Then I kind of thought, well, maybe he's cheating on me. Like, I thought, okay, maybe something's going on, that he's dealing with it with alcohol, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I will say, this man was always home. This man, didn't, like, leave for the night and not come back. I mean, it wasn't like he was gone on weekend with boys trips. You know what I mean? It was not like he was
Mhm.
home.
Yeah.
So I just had this little nagging feeling, though, that something wasn't right. I wasn't sure what it was.
Mhm.
So, I will fast forward to our 4-year anniversary, which is when all of the things started to erupt.
Mhm.
Um, it was August 28th of 2019. 2 weeks to the day of our 4th wedding anniversary. Again, I have an anxiety disorder. At that time, my mom was battling cancer and she was losing that battle. She was in the hospital a lot, so my mind was always with her. A lot of my time was spent with her. So I wasn't sleeping a lot. So this one night, August 28th, him and I were talking because we were going to sell. He had his home that he had prior to us meeting that we were going to sell. And so we were just kind of talking about that a little bit. He fell asleep. I, of course, did not because, my mind is racing with everything. And I was kind of just on my phone, as we do, just kind of whatever. And I received this notification on my phone. It was an email notification. And when I looked at it, it was his email address, which to this day, I cannot tell you how that happened because we never linked our phones together. We never had, we never shared things, in that sense, like our phones were our phones. So I was like, well, this is weird. So I clicked on it out of curiosity and it took me into his emails. And I was like, what is happening? So because of my already kind of like, maybe he's doing something he shouldn't be doing, I'm like, well, I'm in, so I'm going to go check some things out.
Yeah, why not, right? You're already there.
I'm like, right. Like, there's a reason I'm here. So I went into his sent emails, and I'm just kind of scrolling through, seeing who he's sending things to, and I noticed an email that said, from me to me. So he was sending himself something. Now, typically, we don't do that. Maybe it's a recipe or something we send to ourselves, but it wasn't that. There was no subject line or anything like that, so I thought that was a little odd. So I clicked into it, and boy, did I get slapped in the face with a picture that I wasn't expecting. It was a man's naked ass. And I'm kind of perplexed looking at this going, why would he send himself a picture of another man's naked ass to himself? Like, this is just very... I'm like, I can't grasp what's happening. Of course,
yeah.
Right. I mean, you don't think like that, right? So my heart's beating, and I work in IT, so I'm a little technical savvy, and I did look to see if where did he send this from? Did he have another email account or what? And he did. He had an email account I didn't know about.
Cindy, where was he at this time when you was reading this?
He was sleeping right next to me.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it was nighttime. He fell asleep. I couldn't sleep. So yeah, all this stuff's going on, right? And by this time, it's probably 11 o'clock at night. He's sleeping, and so I go into, and it was an AOL account. AOL is so old, so I'm like, he had this for a while, and I'm like, is he dumb enough to have the same password for this account that he has for some of his others? So I typed it in, and boy, oh boy, Pandora's box opened up to me.
Same passcode.
Yeah, same passcode.
I'm all about this, but go ahead.
So as I'm kind of like going through these emails, and there's emails from Craigslist, there's emails from random people. And this went all the way back to 2012. So we met in 2015. He's been doing this way before me, right? Whatever he's doing at this point, I don't know. So I open up an email account, and I'm seeing a conversation between him and another dude about sexual acts, about what he wants this person to do to him in detail. Some things I actually had to Google because I didn't know what it meant.
It was that way? You had to Google? Whoa.
It was that way. Like, I didn't know. And maybe it's just me being naive, and I don't know, but I didn't know what it was. So I'm looking some of this stuff up, and I'm like, I'm shaking at this point because I'm like, this cannot be my husband. My husband, who is 6'2", he's got muscles out to here. He's got tats. He rides a motorcycle. I mean, it just isn't computing with me that this would be his lifestyle, right? So I'm still not convinced. I'm thinking somebody has hacked his email or something. Like, right? Like, this is how I am right now. And I'm reading. An hour goes by and I'm reading these texts or these emails. And then I found an email where my ex-husband, was giving the address of his house, the one we were going to be selling, to this person to meet him there for a little tryst. And that, at that point in time, I'm like, I know this is him now. Like, I know.
So was he sent the email to the guy at the time you was married?
Correct. Yes.
Do you remember how far apart those days or months were?
I mean, I'll tell you, he had emails like as recent as days before I found it. Right. So like I found out that he was getting and I'm going to get a little graphic here.
Okay, get down.
He was getting a blowjob on our 4th wedding anniversary.
Wait, on that day?
On that day. I was with my mom that day. He actually came to my mom's house to give me flowers. He got those flowers right around the corner from the guy he just got a blowjob for him.
Wasn't your mom going through stuff at that time?
Yeah, my mom was going through cancer, so I was at her house kind of being with her. And he came to the house knowing I was at my mom's house on our wedding anniversary. It was like a Wednesday or whatever. And he gave me flowers, but he had just gotten serviced by a man hours before.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I'm taking this in. This is your 4th. This is on the day of your 4th wedding anniversary.
Correct. Yes.
And what you was going through with your mother.
Yes.
Like, when people see this, they can be like, girl, why did you lose your shit?
Well, I did lose my shit so I found out what was going on. Because, I mean, honestly, on the day that he brought me the flowers, our 4th anniversary, I didn't know none of this was going on, right? Like, I thought he was being sweet and loving, and he's bringing me flowers, But little did I know, after some investigating that night, I found out, I was starting to put pieces together as to timelines, as to where he was versus where I was, what I was doing, what he was doing, when I was going through those emails, right?
So you was getting facts, you was tracking everything, so when you approached him, there'll be no bullshit, no lying.
Right. And yes, so like about an hour and a half of me going through these emails, and it kind of really clicked to me that, okay, this is really him. This is what he's doing. He's, again, laying next to me sleeping. I started wailing on him, beating the shit out of him. And, he woke up, of course, and he's like, what's going on? And he thought something had happened to my mother, that I was going emotionally berserk because something happened to my mom. And I just started screaming at him and shoving his phone my phone in his face, going, what the fuck is going on? Like, who the fuck are you? Like, I don't even know who you are at this point. So he jumps out of bed, and I'm starting to tell him everything I'm seeing, and I grabbed his phone, and I'm going through his phone, and now I find gay porn on his phone. He had an app on his phone that was hiding pictures. Apparently there's these apps that you can hide pictures in. So anybody who's listening, they are designed to not look like it's something to hide pictures. It's some random little app that looks normal, but in reality it's not. It's a
I can tell you one, because I know someone who does it. It's called Dropbox.
Okay. Well, I don't remember what this was, Keepsake or something. I don't remember. But, whenever I saw it on his phone, it didn't seem like that would be something that he would have on his phone. So I just clicked into it, and it popped open a passcode, asking for a passcode. And I'm like, give me the fucking passcode now. And he's sitting on the bed, like almost like a small little man. Now, mind you, he's 6'2", big guy. You know what I mean? And he's literally like shrunk down. And he's like, I don't know what it is. I'm like, yes, you do. You better fucking give me this passcode now. So he miraculously remembered what it was. I plugged it in, and there was pictures on there that I don't even want to see. So, I told him I mean, I'm shaking at this point. Obviously I'm not in my right mind. I'm in shock at this point. I'm like, get the fuck out. Just get the fuck out of my house. And he's like, I'm not leaving, this, that, and another thing. I threw something at him. Um, you know, he ended up going downstairs. And I went downstairs to get something. I had to let my dog out or something. I don't even remember what it was. And he, he's like, you got to listen to me. You got to believe. And I'm begging me this, that, and nothing. And I'm like, no. I go, I'm going to tell everybody I know what you did. So I go back upstairs. I'm still going through all the emails. I have his phone. No, I don't have his phone yet, but I'm looking at all the emails, right? I'm seeing everything, right? Because I'm on my phone on his account, so I can see everything. He's downstairs. It's now 6 a.m. I have gone through most of the emails, and I'm like, I got to go downstairs. I got to see what's going on. So I go downstairs, and he's laying on the floor, passed out. There's alcohol bottles all over the place. And I kicked him. I'm like, you need to get the fuck up and you need to get the fuck out of my house now. Well, he wasn't moving. There was a raspiness going on in his throat. So I'm like, I kind of looked around and I saw there was pill bottles. He had Vicodin and all of his sleep medications that were prescribed on the counter. They were gone. So he took the medication, drank, passed out. Honestly, I don't even know how the man survived.
Cindy, I have a question to ask you. This is probably like a dumb man's question. Okay. The women will understand this question. But when you found out everything, the first set of emails, and you said, get the fuck out and all this shit like that, and then you approached him down the kitchen, then you went back up and was looking for more. Why did you look for more?
Just because it's one, I was in shock, and two, I'm like this. I'm just trying to make sense of everything. Then I started again trying to go through like the dates, like where was I when this happened? Where you know what I mean? Like I was trying to figure stuff out. Like I mean, it was just reeling. You know, I'm literally in shock.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't understand this because literally, Lou, this guy was the love of my life. Like this is it. Like it was we were in it to win it forever, right? Like was my take on that.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't understand what was going on. So yeah,
this is like anger pain. Like
yeah.
This was like instead of stabbing you in the back, he stabbed you right in the chest.
Yes, correct.
Trust me, I'm not near you, but
hey, we all have our stories.
To win the point, I actually shared something very quick, but no, I'll do another time. But I know exactly what you're feeling when you get stabbed right in the chest and it hurts more than anything else.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, continue.
No, it's fine. So when I found him, I called his sister who was 40 minutes away. She was married to a sheriff a couple counties over. And I'm talking to her and I'm pacing outside. I'm like, listen, your brother's on the floor. This is what's happening. Ba, 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 ba. And all she said was, I'm so sorry. You're too far away. I can't come and help you. You're 40 minutes away.
Sister.
This is his sister. Yeah, this is his sister. And at that moment, I'm like, you knew what your brother was doing this whole entire time. Because if someone were to call me and tell me that my brother was doing those things, that would not have been my response, let me tell you. And I would have been on my way over to the home. But she was so calm and cool and collected. And I'm just like, she's like, I said, well, I'm afraid because, I didn't give you this little detail. There's a gun in my home. And I couldn't find the gun. So I wasn't sure if he had the gun on his person. So I told his sister, I'm like, I'm worried he's going to wake up out of this drunken stupor and shoot me.
Oh, shit.
And she said, just go and just lock yourself in your bedroom. It'll be fine. It'll be fine later. This is what she's telling me. And I'm like, okay, I'm done with you because you're not going to help me. So I called my neighbors. And I know everyone asked me, why didn't you call the cops? Why didn't you call the cops? And honestly, I cannot tell you to this day why I didn't call the cops. I don't even know. I was just searching for anybody that was going to be able to help me at that moment. And I know cops would be there in a minute, but it wasn't a thought to call the police. So I called my neighbor, and her husband came over, and I'm hyperventilating at this point because he's not moving. He's rattling.
Yeah.
There's a gun missing somewhere. I don't know what's going on. So they come over. The husband of my neighbor is trying to wake him up, and he can't get him up either. So they called 911, and, you know, that's when things started happening. You know, the cops got there, and ambulance got there. They took him out on a stretcher. The cops were there. And I'm like, listen, there's a gun somewhere. They found the gun on him. It was loaded. So I was right to panic, because if he had woken up, I don't know what would have happened.
So can I ask you a question? If you feel free to answer. What was the explanation you gave the cops when they got there, when they found him on the floor?
I told everybody everything. I was like a canary, just telling everybody what was going on.
I can imagine what the cops look like.
Oh yeah, they were all like, okay. Yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah, because you got to figure, like, right now, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know what to say at the time, I'll tell you that. Now, at this point in time, my daughter, who's an adult, was called by my neighbor, and she was there at this point when they were taking him out, right? And so my kids were amazing through all of this. I have 2 kids. They're adults. They just handled everything so amazingly. Like, they literally saved me in so many ways during that time period. So my daughter, I'm going to kind of fast forward a couple of days, because I will tell you, my ex-husband was in a coma for 7 days from all the alcohol and drugs that he took that night. He was in a coma for 7 days.
So wait, so I'm gonna stop you there, right? Because you said, like, your kids were very supportive about this, and they found out about this.
Yes.
Did anybody else? I mean, because I know you was angry. You told everybody at this point in time.
Oh yeah.
What was your support like system? Did other people come out and supported you while he was in this coma for 7 days? Like, how was that support system for you at that time?
Yeah, I mean, my kids, I had, some friends that were, pretty, I have sisters. No one would leave me alone. Like, no one would let me be alone for even 5 minutes because of my mental state at that point. I was just gone. I will tell you, one night, and this was a really pivotal time, like with my daughter, and I regret this time, but at the time it was happening, I didn't understand. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I was still going through emails, like rereading emails. Like, I was, it's torture, right? I'm torturing myself at this point, right? But I'm still like in disbelief that this is happening. Well, anyway, so I read an email about a dog. And it was from a Craigslist post about someone pimping out their dog for sex. And he was answering that ad. He was getting into detail as to what type of dog is it.
Shit.
I'm like, when it finally hit me as to what was happening, that we are now dealing with bestiality on top of you also, having sex with men. I had the phone in my hand. My daughter was staying with me in the spare bedroom at this point. I walked into the room she was staying in. I dropped to my knees, and I just had the phone in my hand, and I face planted on the ground, not able to breathe. And all I kept saying, dog. My daughter jumps out of bed, and she tells this story too. And she gets down on the ground, and I'm literally not breathing. Like, no air is going in, no air is, I'm like, and just tears. And my daughter blows in my face. She's like, Mom, if you do not start breathing, I'm calling 911. And she kept blowing into my face and, like, moving me. And I kind of finally snapped out of it, took this deep breath, and I'm just on the ground bawling because he's now trying to have sex with an animal.
Oh.
Now, because he's in a coma, I also have his phone at home.
Oh shit. Oh, now it gets interesting. Oh.
So I start going through his phone too, and I'm
Oh.
seeing gay porn. I'm seeing porn with horses. I'm seeing all kinds of things that I, again, have never in my life have ever given a thought to.
Fuck.
So yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Did you ever find out that he ever participate in this?
I don't know for sure. I tried asking those questions, and he, of course, would either get angry with me, deny it, whatever. I never got an answer.
Well, I would like to let the audience know this, because when we talked about bestiality, I knew about it, but I didn't understand it,
Yeah,
which
I
I
don't
still
understand
don't.
it.
I know, and I found this fun fact. Well, it's not fun fact. Since 1974 to the present, it's been reported 4.9% of men and 1.9% of women has had an intimate relations with an animal.
I
Since
don't.
1974, right?
Ugh.
So if someone knows someone or know about someone, especially for men, you need to tell him this. 34% of men who has had sex with an animal are at the highest risk of penile cancer.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting.
Highest risk of penile cancer. I wanted to put that out there because I know people going to watch this, and I want people to maybe if they know someone or whatever, or if they have done it, that can happen to you. It's a high risk. Like you almost guaranteed to get that shit. I'm sorry, Sid, I just had to put it out there.
I mean, that actually, kind of goes into the fact that, when I was going through all of this stuff and beating on him and all that stuff, when I found out, my thought was, am I sick? Do I have, HIV or AIDS? Do I have an STD? What did he bring home to me? Because, I don't, he was sleeping with anybody and anything. We had a hotel, Motel 6, on one of the main drags by our home. I found out that he was meeting people there.
So at this time, right, did you rush out to go get tested and all this stuff immediately and stuff like that? Because I know your anxiety was probably blowing the fuck up
Oh
at this
yeah.
time.
Oh yeah.
Like, I can imagine. Matter of fact, I don't even know how you felt at that time.
Yeah. So the next day, I called my doctor, told him everything that happened. They got me in that day. But the problem with that is that you don't know the results of the AIDS test or for a week, right?
Oh, your anxiety must have been blowing up.
Oh God, it was horrible. I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep for weeks. I will tell you that. That is a fact. So I ended up going to the hospital because I have power of attorney over him because he's in a coma at this point. I have power attorney papers. I go into the hospital. I said, you need to test him for AIDS and all the STDs you can test him for now. And they did, and they got the results back that day.
Okay.
So he didn't have any of these things. So I knew then pretty much I didn't either. But still, until you hear it from your own doctor, you're still like not sure. So yeah, I mean, God was on my side through this entire thing. I am convinced God brought me to his emails. I'm convinced there was a reason that he got me out of that mess.
So let me ask this question, right? Because I know people will ask this, right? When you was with your daughter, you heard about that. Like you said, it was punishment while you kept on going back to emails and reading the phones. How long did you do it for, and when did you decide, like, okay, Sin, like you talk to yourself, it's enough. I can't punish myself no fucking more.
Oh, I did it for weeks. This is why I didn't sleep. I mean, I was constantly going over it and over it and over it and reading and reading and reading. And I'm like, I'm literally out with a piece of paper with timelines on where he was and where we were, what we were doing, going back to texts on that day from him and I. I mean, like I'm an overthinker. So could you just imagine anxiety, overthinker, boom, like.
But do you write everything down? Timeline? Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get to the part when he woke up.
So he woke up in the hospital, and then they ended up having to put him into once you try to commit suicide and you're in the hospital for that, they have to commit you for 7 days.
Yeah.
So he is now being transferred because now he's going to be, once they find out he's okay, like he was in the hospital for a couple days being awake, and I did go see him.
Okay.
And it was hard.
Yeah, what was that really like? I would like to know. Walk me through when you first saw him in the hospital.
It was disgust. It was still like, again, mind you, this man is 6'2", huge man, like muscles and tatted, and it was just disgust and like I just couldn't believe it. Like, this is my life now. So when I walked in, I really couldn't even say anything. Like, I just was looking at him, and he could barely talk because he had tubes in his throat. So it was very hard to hear him, but he's like, "Can you forgive me? Will you give me another chance?"
Oh.
And I'm like, why would I forgive you? Please explain to me why I should forgive you. Like, I was actually very calm, and I did actually videotape me being in there so I could hear myself. And I still have it to this day. Like, and he's on watch now. He's on suicide watch because now somebody's got to be in his room the whole time. So there's a woman in there, a nurse sitting in there, and he did not want me to say what he did in front of that nurse. And I said it anyways. I said, "You're sleeping around on me with men. How do you expect me to ever forgive you for that? I think at this point, you're a bisexual or gay man. So why would I stay with you? That's not my, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just not for me."
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be getting in a relationship with somebody and marrying somebody who's not in that same mindset of things. Right. And he did. So, like, what do you think? I'm going to stay with you? You're nuts. I said, "We'll figure it all out." I was very calm. I don't even know how I stayed so calm. I said, "We'll figure it out. We're not going to figure it out now. You just got to, just deal with whatever you got to deal with." Right. So he kept calling me because he wanted his phone. Well, you want to know why he wanted his phone? He was looking up guys. This is what he was doing. His behavior was still the same. Like, he was so adamant about getting his phone back at that point in time. So I ended up giving him his phone back. "It's your phone, not mine." And he kept calling me and texting me and "Please, you got to forgive me. You got to forgive me." I'm like, no. You got to let me be. Like, this is what our life is now. Like, we're done.
Yeah.
So he eventually, went into the committed area, right? Like, in there, he's in a different section of the hospital, wherever he's at. I don't even remember. And I get a phone call from the doctor at this place. They asked me if I would be willing to come in and talk to them because he's in therapy and all this stuff. And I said, sure. And they were shocked that I actually went in to talk to them about this because they said most people wouldn't do this. And I said, well, I've come to realize I'm not like most people. So I went in and I had a conversation with the doctor, and they told me that he blamed me for being in there, blamed my anxiety disorder for trying to commit suicide. He did not mention any of the sexual encounters that really put him there. He put it all on me. So I'm like, well, that's funny because, and I pulled up the emails. This is all going on. I go, this isn't me. It's because of him. The nurse stopped me on my way out and she said it was the most disturbing conversation she ever had with a person in that facility that she had with him. And she goes, and I'm scared for you.
What's like? How deep did he talk about you?
Well, they could only tell me so much, right?
Oh, it's the parent, yeah, patient.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But they did say that he did say, I mean, they actually got his permission to talk to me because he was in the room. They got permission for him to talk to me, and they did. That's what they said, but they didn't say a lot. They just said what I told you. So,
Okay.
Because I really didn't want to hear it anyways. I showed him the proof. I didn't need to sit here and defend myself. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm leaving. I'm done. I'm out. And when I walked out, the nurse stopped me and she goes, I don't typically do this. She goes, but the conversation I had with him was so disturbing. It's like he had nothing inside of him.
So when she said that, and how did you react to that? Because you also said earlier your second husband was kind of empty like that. So now looking back on it now, 2 marriages, 2 empty reactions. Like, how do you feel about that? Like being married to those 2 type of men, even though
Well,
it's different situations.
I will tell you, Lou, that's kind of where I go with my book.
Okay.
Because I was in therapy. I was in therapy for every week for 4 years. I was in therapy every week because of this.
Okay.
And during that therapy sessions and looking back on my life and, like, what am I doing here? Like I had to take accountability for my mistakes in both relationships because I allowed it to happen, right? I allowed these things to happen. And why? Because I did not love myself more than anybody else. I'm a people pleaser. I kept, I equated doing things for people as them, they won't love me if I don't do these things.
Really?
And these are things that I found out through my my therapy. And I just always had this blueprint of what a life should be, and I was trying to attain that. But I wasn't ever thinking about myself in regards to what do you really want? What do you really need? You need to, and my TikTok, as you said, it's mental check-ins, and I'm constantly talking about loving yourself, that you're enough. You are worth so much more. Because I will tell you, Lou, I tried to commit suicide the November of 2019.
That's what I was going to ask you, right? But before we get to that, right? But before you get to that point, right? The suicide attempt, was that after or before you decided to write your book?
It was before.
Okay. Because I remember I saw your TikTok. I was very compelled by it. Because I think it happened in May, right?
The suicide attempt?
Yeah.
No, November.
Okay, November.
It's coming
You
up
say it
on
was
5
like,
years. Yep.
yeah, that's right. It was like a 5. You was talking on your TikTok 5 years ago. You tried to take your own life. Wow, like, and you kind of described it, but like, can you walk it back? If you feel comfortable about walking back through what you said on your TikTok?
Sure. Yeah. And I know what TikTok you're talking about. It was a really kind of lengthy video. I was kind of talking
Yeah,
about this, and
yeah,
I did it in May because it was Mental Health Awareness Month.
gotcha.
So I was trying to get a little bit of my story out there. I have to tell you that, this is the crazy part.
Sorry.
I tried to reconcile with my third ex-husband in October of 2019. So a month after it happened. I have to say this because this is what led me to the suicide attempt.
Gotcha.
I felt, because of my people pleasing, problems. I say that now because don't ever people please. Okay, you got to please yourself. I tried to help him. I'm like, this can't be the man that I married. Something happened to him that made him do what he did. Okay. And so I contacted and I'm like, I said, I need to understand what led you to do this. Like what led you back in 2012 to start dabbling with men, if that's when it started. And then we met, we had some, we went out to have dinner and we met. It's the first time we've seen each other really in person. And he told me that he was molested at 10 years old by a neighborhood kid. Now, can I tell you if I believe that or not today? I'm going to say I call bullshit, because I think at that point he was just trying to get me back.
Yeah.
So we went on a journey of trying to reconcile. We went through therapy together separately. He said he's a sex addict. He's got problems, this, that, and another thing. So I'm like, I'm here to help. What can I do? But I'm still dealing with my own mental issues at this point, because I'm still like dabbling with, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I trying to help this man? He did all these things to you, but you love him. He was the love of your life. You know what I mean? Like all these battles were going on in my head with him.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think it was more for love?
No, I just felt I found out during my therapy sessions that I was so adamant about not having a third failed marriage that I was doing everything in my power to make sure that didn't happen. But after a month of us trying, he became so nasty to me. His drinking became even more than it was before. And the texts that I got from him when we're trying to reconcile, and I'm trying to help him, and I'm trying to do, he's telling me, you need to get over it. I didn't cheat on you. Just, I want to move back into the house. We need to start having sex again. Bob, I mean, like all of these things that were coming at me, and I'm like, I'm still trying to deal with what happened. And you think we're supposed to just be like, okay, it happened. Let me just move back in. Come on.
Wait, Sid, don't you think that's like another narcissistic signs there too? So that's 2 in a row.
That's 2 in a row.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. So because of all this, like he was so nasty to me, I just got to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't even know what to do anymore. So I got into my car in my garage. I was going to leave to go somewhere, but I chose not to open up the garage door. And I turned my car on. And I sat there. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And as the exhaust is starting to come in, I'm coughing, I'm crying, I put my head on my steering wheel. I'm just like, just get me out of here. I'm done. I'm out. I'm done. Then I got this little flash of my children in my mind. And I'm like, their father, my first husband, passed away in 2010. I can't leave my children. They would have no parent if I were to do this. So I picked my head up. I looked myself, in the rearview mirror, and I said, and I opened up the car door. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I hit the garage door opener. I opened up my door to my car, and I literally fell out sobbing, coughing, sobbing. Like, I can't do this. I can't leave my kids.
Oh, my God. Sin, I want to read people something right quick because you brought up suicide, and that's a big thing in this world.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. This has been since 2022. It's been 2 years.
Okay? Yes.
13.2 million serious thoughts about suicide. 13.2 million people.
Yes.
Serious thoughts. This is the last 2 fucking years.
Yeah.
Okay? 3.8 million made plans for their suicide.
Yes.
Okay? 1.6 million attempted suicide in the last 2 years. Last one, And I want people to really realize this, that suicide is very, very important, a very, very fact that everybody should talk about, and especially, reach out to people. There's one death every 11 minutes to suicide. Every minute.
Yeah.
Every 11 minutes. I personally tried to do it.
Okay.
When I lost my daughter.
Oh my goodness.
34 years old, had a overdose of fentanyl. Tried for the first time cocaine. I lost her. I was going through battles. I went to work. I let the steering wheel go. And for some reason, I was meant to be here because the front tire bounced off this boulder and pushed me back. So I was checked out.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think about nothing. At least you had the bravery. You was like, okay, I'm going to be here for my kids. So applaud you to have that bravery right there. Suicide is a very, very important thing nowadays. Especially when I asked you earlier, how many people do the mental check-in for you? Okay? Because you do it for everybody else. That's important for people to realize out there. You heard these facts. There's over 13 million people out there.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
Check in, everybody. Check in.
Check in. Check in with the strong people, too.
Yes. I mean, listen, this woman is strong as hell. Okay, but guess what? She needs some checking in on something, too. I'm sorry, Sid. Go ahead. I just want to put that out there.
I appreciate that. I mean, I have since then become I'm a certified mental health coach now.
Okay.
And I have helped so many women. I have had conversations with people in doctors' offices. I've had conversations with people in banks. I tell my story everywhere I go. I am literally an open book.
Yes. Let's get into that right there. What was that moment? I want to hear about the moment where you say, screw this, I'm going to write down this. This has to help our people. What was the time? What was the point? And when was you ready to write this book?
So it was 2021. I had already been through a couple of years of therapy. I had ingrained myself into my church. I was working on my certification for mental health. And I just thought, okay, I know that this is happening to more women than what's being talked about. I need to talk about it. I need to put a book out. I need to write my experiences. But it wasn't just about that incident, right? Like, it wasn't just about that marriage. It was about my life. Like, why did I choose these men? Why did I allow these things to happen to me? Now, I'm not taking blame for what they did to me, right? That's them. That's their side of the street they need to worry about. I was dealing with my side of the street. And I'm like, what were you doing? Why did you allow these men in your life? There were so many red flags on both marriages, and I ignored them. Right? Because I just felt like my life was supposed to be a certain way. I love being married. I love that aspect of life, but I wasn't doing it the right way. I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for the sake of doing it, if you will. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm taking that responsibility. So I went to therapy and I found out why I went through EMDR, which is a very in-depth therapy where you kind of almost go into a little bit of a trance.
Really?
Yes. And it's certified, people, psychologists can only do this. Like, it's not everybody. So, you're kind of put into a trance and you kind of go deep in, with memories, and you just process these things. And there's so many things that I came out with from those therapy sessions that made me realize, I got to stop pleasing everybody else and just start worrying about what it is that I want in my life. What do I want? What do I deserve? What's going to make me happy? I I didn't love myself, Lou. I just let everybody just do whatever they wanted and it didn't matter, like, and I just, oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's not okay. And we as people need to know, and it's not okay to have people treat you like garbage. It's not okay for people to make you feel like you're always the problem, to talk down to you, to use you, or to cheat on you, or to beat on you, or to whatever. This is not okay. And I will tell you, my mother, a saint of a mother she was, I love her, but I found out months before she passed away, her and I had a conversation, and she told me that she was molested at 3 years old.
Jesus Christ.
And her parents did nothing about it. I loved my grandparents, but I at that point in time, I was done with them. Like, I don't have a nice thing to say about my grandparents at this point because of that. How could you not protect your child? But it made me understand, though, Lou, why I didn't learn about loving myself, because my mother didn't know it. Now, I'm not blaming this on my mom by any stretch of the imagination. My mother was a saint. She did the best she could, and I can't thank her enough for being, the person she was. But absolutely. I understand, because I watched my mom's marriage to my father dissipate in front of me. The fights, the arguments, I watched all that. And my mom was the strongest woman I knew. I never saw her cry. Nobody was there for her. And that makes me sad.
I know the feeling. It's another story, but I can understand. I can understand.
So I just think, like, my book is not just about what happened to me on that, fateful night, on August 28th, 2019. That was a catalyst of getting me where I am today. I am now, I'm a mental health coach. I help with, church functions where, like, coming up on November 1st, there's this amazing event that's coming up at our church for like the officers and for first responders, because they have a lot to deal with in regards to mental things and suicide attempts and whatnots. So my life now, if it hadn't had happened to me, and everybody asked me, like, if you could go back, would you change what happened to you? No, I would not. No, I would not.
Gosh, son, you have told one hell of a story. You got one hell of a journey, and the show knows I'm going to wind it down.
Yes.
And the show knows I'm going to put your book in it.
Thank you.
We go put, if you want, I can also put your TikTok in it too. But I'm going to give you the final word, but I'm going to play my little game with you first.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready for this one? It's going to be fun.
I'm ready.
All right. Would you rather have 20 hobbies or one single passion?
One single passion.
Okay. All right. What's a hidden talent no one knows about you?
Oh. I can sing a little.
A little bit?
A little bit.
Just a little bit. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, this could be a TV series or movie. Which one of them what's a TV series or movie you can watch multiple times?
Oh, I love New Girl.
Oh yeah, I knew so much.
I've watched it 6 times and I laugh like it's the first time I've seen it.
Okay. Which word would you use if you only could use it once? Only one time. You can only use one word for the rest of your life. What word would that be?
Love.
Oh, okay. What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Weirdest thing probably is, and because I don't get into that stuff. Like, I don't get crazy, but somebody served me venison, deer meat. Yeah. I guess that's what it's called. I don't even know. And I was disgusted. I was absolutely disgusted. And I'm sure people love it, but it's just me feeling like I'm eating Bambi and I just can't do it.
She said Bambi. Okay. If you could meet only one person in the world today, who would it be?
Meet someone like somebody I've never met before?
Anyone. Yep. Today.
Wow. I honestly don't know. I mean, I'm not big into celebrities, but I will say person. Prince was one of the people that I found fascinating.
Oh.
Isn't that weird? I found him very
different.
Yes.
He was different.
He's smart.
Yes. Yes. All right. What was your favorite toy as a kid?
I had a hungry hippo.
Oh, I have not heard about that in years. Oh my God.
Oh, I loved it.
Wow. I have not heard about that. Wow. That's great.
That takes me back.
All right. 2 more. What moment in your life would you want to experience one more time?
The birth of my children.
Okay. Here go a fun one. Are you ready for this one?
Yeah.
It's the last one.
Okay.
Here go a good one. Can you name 3 consecutive days without using the words Wednesday, Friday, or Sunday?
Every day.
You gotta name 3.
I gotta name 3. Oh, every day, someday. Any day. Any day, I don't know. Am I saying this right? Is this a trick question?
You're close. You're the first one who actually kind of figured out which way to go. But it's yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Okay.
You're the first person that got that close to it. Because everybody was like, what the hell? Yeah, exactly. Cindy, we're going to give you the last word. I want you to give something to the audience. You can take as much time as you want. Describe your book. Tell people come out about your book. Give a final message about mental health, especially about anything you want to share to your audience. The floor is yours.
Well, I want to thank you, Lou, very much for talking with me today. This is great.
Thank you.
I hope we remain friends because you seem like a really awesome dude. But sure. Yes, my book is The Only Way Out is Through. It's on Amazon, or I have a website called loveyourselffirst.net. I sell t-shirts on there as well. My message is love yourself. You are enough. Don't ever let anybody else make you think otherwise. You are beautiful, you are loved, and you are needed in this world. And that is my message. I just want that message to be out in this world because we don't have enough of that. And if you are struggling with anything, please get the help you need, because I will tell you, you really don't want to not be here. I know it feels like it at this moment. Please, tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow is another day, and it will get better.
Wow. Sandy, I'm not going anywhere. I'm your friend now. I'm going to be checking up on you.
Thank you.
we go main friends. I love you. Thank you so much for coming on and tell you. This is a great story.
Thank you.
And I know it's going to get a lot of views. I know it's going to help out everybody. Thank you for coming on. I'm so pleasure. I'm honored by you coming on. Seriously.
Well, I appreciate you so much. Thank you. And I'm glad we're friends now.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We will check you out next week or next episode on Let's Talk About It. Peace. Thank you for watching the show. Please like, subscribe, comment. Stay tuned next week for another exciting episode on Let's Talk About It.